We're about to dive deep into, well, the instruction manual for your own brain.
Yeah.
Our source material today really makes us ask a fundamental and maybe a little uncomfortable question.
Mm-hmm.
When you're making a big decision, a career move, buying a house, anything important, are you using cold, hard logic, or are you just running on instinct?
And the whole premise of this deep dive is that we dramatically overestimate how rational we are. The surprising truth is that the vast majority of our decisions come from this intuitive, automatic system.
Yeah.
A system that was designed for, quick survival, not for navigating stock markets or modern politics.
We tend to think that logic is our default setting. But the sources we're looking at, especially the work of Nobel laureate Daniel Kahneman, they tell us this real, slow, analytical thinking. It's exhausting.
It's mentally expensive. Evolutionarily speaking, it's a luxury.
A luxury, how so?
Well, think about it from an ancestor's point of view. If you spend 5 minutes logically weighing the pros and cons of running from a wrestle in the grass, you are lunch. You get removed from the gene pool. So natural selection really, really favored a mind that was built for instant reaction. The system we've inherited is efficient, for sure, but it was sculpted for the African savanna, not the office park.
And that creates this huge mismatch. I love the phrase from the source material, that we are essentially primitive people wearing suits.
Exactly.
We're living in these concrete jungles, but we're operating with mental hardware that was designed for a world that, hasn't existed for millions of years.
And our mission today is to really unpack the problems that mismatch creates. We need to understand these mental shortcuts, they're called heuristics, and the predictable errors they cause, which we all know as cognitive biases.
Okay, so to understand the errors, we have to start with the operating system itself.
Right. And Kahneman's model of two systems is the perfect way to look at it. You've got system one, which is fast, automatic, intuitive. It operates completely below your conscious awareness. It just, gives you the answer.
And then there's system two.
That's the slow, logical, effortful one. It requires your full attention. It's what you use to do your taxes or solve a difficult math problem.
And system one it's pure survival hardware, isn't it? It's all about reflex.
Mm-hmm. The sources sum it up with what we can call the 4 Fs.
The 4 Fs, okay.
Feed, fight, flee, and, the reproductive one.
Got it.
These are the immediate reflexes. Pulling your hand from a hot stove, jumping back from a loud noise. In those moments, rationality is just way too slow to keep you alive.
And that speed, that efficiency is really key.
It's absolutely critical. And what's interesting is that while System 2 can give you a very precise, logical answer, System 1 often wins out, especially when things get really complex. These shortcuts aren't just about being lazy. They're often the most effective way to get to a good enough decision.
I think the AI analogy here really makes it click. You can think about the difference between older AI and the newer stuff.
Yeah.
Take Deep Blue. The chess AI that beat Kasparov. That was pure system 2, right? All logic.
Absolutely. Fixed rules, brute force calculation, just thinking moves ahead sequentially.
And that's fine for chess, which is complex, but, it has limits. But then you get to a game like Go.
Which is a whole different ball game. There are more possible positions in Go than there are atoms in the known universe. So fixed rule logic it completely fails. The problem is too big.
And that's where AlphaGo comes in. It operates more like our intuition.
It does. It uses these things called neural networks to learn on its own by playing millions of games against itself. Its decisions are fast, they're intuitive, and honestly, they're often a total black box. Even its creators don't always know why it made a certain move.
The Go master it beat even said its moves were beautiful, not logical.
Exactly. That black box intuition is just like our System 1. It proves that when things are massively complex, a deeply trained fast shortcut can actually outperform slow, step-by-step reasoning. Our intuition is basically a neural net trained over millennia of evolution.
So that leads to the obvious question then. If our intuition is this super powerful AlphaGo system, why do we make so many terrible mistakes? Why do we need spreadsheets and 5-year plans and, deep dives like this one? Why aren't we all just brilliant, intuitive geniuses?
Because System 1's main job isn't finding objective truth. Its job is efficiency and survival. And the main way it stays so efficient is through, frankly, self-deception and bias.
It wants to protect its existing beliefs.
Right, because challenging those beliefs takes up precious mental energy.
Let's start with the biggest one, the one everyone's heard of, confirmation bias. This is that That tendency to just look for information that proves what we already think is true.
And you ignore everything else. It creates this perfect closed loop. If you believe, say, that walnuts make you smarter, you'll start noticing every article about walnuts and brain health, and you'll completely ignore the hundreds of other factors. You filter reality.
The sources draw this really powerful contrast here between two mindsets. Most of us, most of the time, are in what they call the lawyer mindset.
The lawyer mindset. I like that.
We've already decided on our conclusion, and our only job is to go out and find evidence to support our case and win the argument.
Whereas the much rarer and much harder mindset is the scientist mindset. That's where you actively look for evidence that disproves your own theory. You try to falsify your own beliefs. And we have to admit, most of the time we're acting as our own best lawyer, not our own toughest critic.
And this all gets so much worse after we've made a decision. That's when we run straight into cognitive dissonance.
Yeah, that's that deep, uncomfortable feeling you get when you do something that goes against one of your core beliefs. To get rid of that tension, we don't usually change our behavior.
No, we change the belief. We rewrite the story to make our actions seem perfectly rational after the fact.
It's all about self-justification. The most famous example of this is that doomsday cult back in 1954. They were convinced the world was going to end on a specific date.
Right, and they sold their homes, quit their jobs, gave away all their money, they went all in.
And then the day came, and nothing happened. The world just kept on turning. So did they admit they were wrong?
Of course not. That would be too painful.
Instead, they came up with a new story. They convinced themselves that their incredible faith, their sacrifice, it had actually saved the world.
And get this.
Yeah.
The people who had sacrificed the most, the ones who sold their houses, they were the most passionate about spreading this new belief.
Because they had the highest internal cost to justify. They had the greatest psychological need to turn a foolish decision into a heroic one.
And that's the beginning of what the sources call the stupid spiral.
The stupid spiral.
One bad decision needs another lie to cover it up, which needs another, and it gets harder and harder to ever admit you made a mistake. You literally adjust reality to protect yourself from the simple, painful thought, I was wrong.
And this kind of self-deception doesn't just distort our past, it massively impacts our future goals, especially how we chase happiness. This is where we run into something called the focusing illusion.
The focusing illusion.
It's our tendency to latch on to one single factor and just wildly overestimate its power to change our entire lives.
The California climate study is the perfect example of this. It's so clear. Researchers asked people living in cold, gloomy places, how much happier they thought they would be if they moved to sunny California.
And they were sure it would be a huge boost, a massive life upgrade.
But then when the researchers actually surveyed people who lived in California, their overall happiness levels were no different from people in the Midwest.
Why? Because sunshine is just one tiny piece of the pie. You still have traffic, you still have bills to pay, you have relationship problems, you have work stress. When you focus only on that one thing, the new job, the bigger house, the sunshine, you think it's a magic bullet. It never is.
We do this all the time. If I can just get that promotion, then I'll finally be able to relax.
Once I buy that car, I'll be happy.
But the moment you get it, there's that letdown. It's almost immediate.
And that's what's called the paradox of hedonism. And it's wired right into our brain chemistry. Our brains evolved for the chase, not for the catch. The neurotransmitter dopamine. It's not really released when you get the reward.
It's released in anticipation of the reward.
Exactly. The thrill is in the journey, the planning, the wanting, not the having.
So once you actually get the thing, the new phone, the job title, the dopamine rush stops. And the thing you wanted so badly suddenly feels a little bit flavorless.
Happiness, from this perspective, is always on the other shore. If you're constantly chasing one single, ultimate goal for your salvation, you're just setting yourself up for a lifetime of disillusionment.
Okay, so if our brains are wired to always look for the next big thing, the next destination, how are we supposed to live with that? How do we adjust?
Well, the insight from the sources is that the answer isn't to find the right destination. The antidote is to accept that life is this, messy, multi-factor equation. It's about finding meaning in the process of living itself, not in some grand final goal.
Finding it in the small things, the daily grind.
Mm-hmm. Significance is found in the journey, not the destination.
So if we can't just turn off system one and we can't escape these biases that evolution gave us, then the goal has to be adjustment.
Exactly. The goal is to use System 2, our slow, rational brain, not to take over, but to tune up our intuitive system. We have to become our own tune-up technicians.
Our own self-adjusters. I like that.
And the sources give us a couple of really brilliant, practical ways to actually do this tuning.
Okay, let's hear them. Strategy 1 is a fantastic tool to fight the sunk cost fallacy.
Yes, that feeling of, I've already put so much time and money into this, I can't quit now.
Even when you know you should. This strategy is called the new CEO test.
And it comes from a famous story at Intel. The CEO, Andy Grove, was really struggling with their failing memory chip business. So he asked his partner, Gordon Moore, the simple question.
What was it?
He said, if we got fired tonight and the board hired a new CEO, what would they do? And Moore answered instantly, they'd get us out of the memory business. And Grove just looked at him and said, then why don't we go out the door, come back in, and do it ourselves?
That is so clarifying. It completely removes the emotional baggage of your past investment.
It does.
So the advice for you, for anyone listening, is this. When you are stuck on a failing project, a dead-end job, a relationship that's gone stagnant, ask yourself that new CEO question.
If I were coming to this situation for the very first time today, knowing everything I know now, would I choose to start it?
And if the honest answer is no,
then the cost of continuing is way higher than the cost of admitting the loss. That one question lets your rational System 2 cut right through all the messy bias stories that System 1 is telling you.
okay, so what's the final strategy?
The final strategy is maybe the most advanced one. It's about embracing your own non-rationality as a variable you can plan for.
What does that mean?
It means that true freedom isn't about being perfectly rational all the time. That's impossible. True freedom is about recognizing and even naming your own inevitable irrationality.
This is metacognition, right? Thinking about your thinking.
Exactly. Don't lie to yourself and say you're immune to temptation. Instead, you prepare for your known weaknesses when you're in a calm, rational state of mind. You don't pretend you won't overspend on vacation.
You set a spending limit on your credit card before you even leave for the airport.
Yes. Or, if you know you have a problem with confirmation bias, you make a rule to deliberately seek out one article a day that argues against your strongest belief.
Or on a diet, don't pretend you'll never want cake. Build a cheat meal into the plan from the beginning. You're incorporating your own flaw as a variable.
And naming these biases, confirmation bias, sunk cost, focusing illusion, it's so powerful. The moment you can put a name to it, you create a little bit of distance. You can step back from the immediate reaction and gain just a little bit of control.
So we can't escape the instincts that evolution has wired into us. But we can gain this really powerful, functional kind of freedom just by recognizing them. The ultimate insight here, I think, is that you have to step back and observe the self that's making the decision.
I love the final analogy from the sources. You're standing on a bridge, watching the scenery go by, but the real goal is to realize that someone is on the floor above, watching you watch the scenery.
The goal isn't to be a robot.
Not at all. It's to use your rational mind to understand and gently guide your intuitive self. Be reflective, be your own tune-up technician, and you'll end up making genuinely better decisions.
Thank you for joining us for the deep dive.